The next job you got to do is to fit the battery bottle type cage onto the down tube here. It's a fairly simple matter. It's just a question of taking your original bottle cage off and bolting the unit onto the down tube like that. You'll notice it's got lots of slots in it so that it can accommodate basically any position. What you want to do is to put it in such a position that it's easy to get the battery in and out. Obviously if you put it too high up, then you'll have a job to get the battery unit out. So put it down, you know, at a comfortable position, taking into account the chain wheel obviously. And on this bike I think I'm going to put it about there. It's out of the way of the chain wheel, and it's not too high, and you can still get the unit in. So it's basically just a question of putting these two Allen bolts in. What I'm going to do, rather than just put them in like that, I've got two extra washers here that I'm going to put in as well, just to be on the safe side, behind the bolts, just to give it a little bit more support. There is an Allen key supplied with a kit, but I'm using my own at the moment. Okay, just check again before you put the final one in to make sure that's about right, and you can still get the battery in, and that'll fit in there no problem. So I can now put the bottom screw in as well. So that's the battery cage in position on the down tube. Just make sure the battery fits okay. Make sure you locate it correctly using the slot and the U-bolt, and that's now clicked in place. And then you can lock it using the key provided on the lock on the other side. But what I'm going to do is take that off again for the moment, because we don't want that in the way. Now all that's required is to connect these wiring up to the wiring that's connected to the hub motor, and that's it basically, apart from the Bluetooth controller that I'm going to put on the handlebars in a moment. The problem is of hiding these wires and making them so they're not too visible, and they've got to be anchored down. You don't want them getting in the way of the chain wheel, so you've got to anchor them down with some cable ties. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and, rather than run it up here and down, I might run it up the top and round the back and along here and down, because I think it might be a bit better than having loops of cable hanging about. Don't just do it as a permanent job, just sort of tie it together gently to start with until you've found the best route for the cable to go, and then when you've finally decided, then put the cable ties on, because if you put the cable ties on and pull them up tight, you won't be able to take them off again without destroying them and replacing them. It's alright if you've got plenty of cable ties, but you might only have the ones that come in the kit. So think about it first before you do it. Well, I've had a good look at the cable routing, and I've decided the best way would be to run it up to the seat tube, underneath the front derailleur, and up the back of the seat tube, and along the top tube here, underneath, disguised by the pump, down here, and it just about reaches to fit the cable here. So once it's tied in, that'll look quite neat, I think. The first thing I'm going to do though, this little cable here, this is the cable for the throttle control, which you use if you want with a mobile phone. We're not using that, so rather than have that hanging loose, I'm going to tie that in carefully with this other cable first before I route it, to keep it neat and tidy. Now, you can either do that with some cable ties. I've got some spare ones here, some smaller ones. These are not included in the kit. You do get some in the kit for the main cable, but I've got some extra ones if they're needed. If you haven't got any more cable ties, you can just use some ordinary insulating tape. I've got some black tape here, and in fact I'll probably put a combination of tape and ties on it because it's easier. So I'm just going to take a little bit of tape off and then just start at this end and take the two together. I'll put a cable tie on as well, just to be on the safe side, but if you just put a few drops of tape along there, it'll hold it in place while you put any cable ties on, that's all. So this will be out of the way behind the seat tube where you won't see it, and it won't get in the way of anything, hopefully. Make sure the little cap stays on there, because you don't want water running into the socket, do you? So we've got that neatly out of the way. I'm now going to thread the cable up under the front derailleur, where it's going to be out of harm's way, I hope. You've got to make sure you put some cable ties around here, because you don't want it getting into the chain wheel or anything, getting caught up in anything, do you? And then we'll bring that up the back here, around here, and along the top, under the top tube and down, and that should just about reach, I hope, for the plug here. Now when you plug this in, it's got two little arrows on it, and you must line the arrows up to get it to fit correctly, which is there, look. Just make sure you've got enough so that when you turn the steering, it's not too tight, because you don't want to pull the thing apart about like that, I would think. That would be about right. I'll just make sure I've got enough cable. Yeah, there's plenty there. So when you put the ties on the top tube, or in any tube for that matter, be careful you don't put the tie around the wire. This wire here, a brake wire, if you put the tie around there you might have problems, so just think about it carefully before you do it. You can see I've tucked the actual cable underneath the top tube there, so it's avoiding the brake cable, and the little connectors of the ties are behind there, so they're not interfering with it. And now I'm going to run it across here, up here and down there. You see, this just shows how easy it is to make mistakes when you're doing these things. There was me telling you to be careful you don't trap cables, and I was careful to put the actual electrical cable behind this little tail of the front changer cable, and I couldn't see it from that side because of the chain wheel. But now I look this side, the actual front changer cable goes the wrong side of this. Well, I think it's the wrong side. I want it this side, and I didn't realise when I put it, I just poked it through, not realising. So that needs to go this side. Now that means taking off all the work I've already done, and I'm not doing that, so it's easier just to take the wire off the front changer and then put the cable through and put it back. So I'm going to do that now. See there, I was busy telling you to be careful, and all the time I've done it wrong myself. But on the other hand, it does show you what can happen. I mean, I could have just left it out and not told you and just done it, but I think it's better to show you the pitfalls. Well, one small dilemma I had was whether or not to take the cable at the seat tube end, whether to take it this side, the chain wheel side, or the other side when I went round the bottom bracket. And I decided that actually it would probably be better. It's probably better this side, behind the chain wheel. As long as you keep the wire out of the chain wheel, it's more protected there, I think, because you can't get your feet into there because it's protected. So the cable is neatly behind there. If you put it on the other side, which probably is the obvious route, I would suggest that it's more likely to get knocked because it's not protected by the chain wheel. So I think as long as you anchor it correctly, and we've got a good distance, there's probably ½ an inch between the inner ring, which you're not going to use much anyway, and the cable, and it's tethered down neatly, I can't see it's going to cause a problem. So hopefully that's the best place for it, but I may be wrong and maybe I'll change it later, but at the moment I think that's the neatest way. And I think you'll agree it's actually not too bad a job. It's not too unsightly. In fact, I mean, you don't really notice it that much, the cable. I think it's better routing it around there than taking it up the front tube, the down tube here, and then putting a huge loop in it. I think that's not too bad at all. So really that's that bit of it done now. We've got the motor on, the battery thing connected. The only thing left to do now is to put the Bluetooth controller on the handlebars and then connect it all up and see if it works. So next I'm going to do that. But I'm going to wash my hands first because they're covered in black grease. As I mentioned earlier, this is the wrong diameter for dropped handlebars. If you've got a straight bar bike, it's straightforward. You just take the handle grip off and any other paraphernalia you've got on there, slide this on, do the Allen screw up in there, job's done. But we can't do that on this because this is a different sort of bike and it's got a larger diameter handlebar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this extension that's supplied with the actual kit and fit it on there with the, on that way round I suppose, and then put the little unit on this little T-bar here. So it's just a matter really of finding the right diameter. So we'll take that little inner bit out first and offer that up and see if that's any good, because that might be enough. If not, we can put some extra packing on. You don't want it to be loose and flop around, do you? Just put that round there like that, look, alright? That may well do the job. If it's not tight enough, even with the packing in, just put a bit of tape, a bit of adhesive tape round the handlebar first before you put it on. That'll help. You can always change it later and you can put it on the other side if you wanted to. You can have it on the other side of the bars, it doesn't make any difference really. Because it's Bluetooth, there's no wiring to worry about. So that's that there. And then it's just a matter of getting the little pole and poking that in. Now you can obviously move this will fit on the pole, like so, and you can move it along the pole as much or as little as you like. So you can either have the pole central or you can have it right, if you want the controller over here, look. You can have it over here or you can push it right down in there. I'm going to put the pole just sort of central at the moment because it's simple to change that. You could change it on the move if you want, as long as you've got a little Allen key with you. It's just a matter of getting the little Bluetooth loop unit and sliding it on the pole like that. There's a little Allen screw underneath to do up. Put your key in ready actually is probably easier. And then that slides on there like that, look. And just tighten it up. Don't over tighten it, just make it so you can just move it gently, that's alright. Probably a good idea when you're starting out for the first few times, take the little Allen key with you so you can adjust it on the move. Well, that's it now. All the fitting's done. So what I've got to do now is pop the battery unit in, and then you carry out some functions on the Bluetooth device here on the handlebars to connect it to the battery unit and also to calibrate it to get the levels right. So we'll do that now, hopefully. I've now got the bike in a level position and it's upright, and I'm going to turn the battery unit on, and then I'm going to turn the little unit, the Bluetooth unit, on. So we'll press that first. Beep, that means it's on, and then we'll press the middle button to turn the display on. At this stage nothing's been calibrated. Connect this unit to the battery, Bluetooth connection. What we have to do is press the middle button 3 times in quick succession, and that should allow it to find the battery. So we'll do that now. I'll hold it here just to make sure. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now it's searching for the battery. You can see it's searching, the little things flashing there, and it's found it. That's obviously the number of the battery unit. So now we know the unit is now connected to the battery by Bluetooth. So we'll press the middle button once, and that should be that done. Now that's that done now. And the only other thing we need to do now is to calibrate it for the gyroscope, and you've got to have the bike on a level surface, which it obviously is, and upright. And then all you've got to do is press the top and bottom buttons together until it shows 2 zeros. So we'll press those together and hold them until it shows all the zeros. That should now be calibrated, so it should now be working. Right, everything's connected up, we're switched on. I just want to show you the actual control unit and the motions of it. When you first turn it on, it will show 0, 0 on the display here. That means that's no assistance whatsoever. So therefore, if you ride the bike now, you'll get no actual assistance. It's just like riding a normal bike, only perhaps a little bit heavier because you've got the extra weight, but it shouldn't make that much difference. If you press the top button once, you'll notice it beeps and it changes it to 10. That means you're now getting 10% assistance from the motor unit, and only 10%. If you press it again, it goes to 20, and so on, and you can keep pressing. That's 50%, so that's 50% effort, right up to something like 99%, which is the maximum. So that's basically motor power all the way. Now obviously, if you're on that setting all the time, your battery's not going to last that long, is it? But generally speaking, you won't need that much if you're a regular cyclist anyway. And you're used to riding fairly long distances or even fairly short distances, you won't need that sort of assistance. Friends of mine who've got similar electric bikes, or bikes that have been electrified should I say they only need like 10 to 20%, and that's just enough to help them against the wind and hills. So we don't know, but you don't need 99% really, but it's there if you want it. So I'm going to turn that back down to a more modest 20 for now. Now we just want to prove that it's working. I'm going to lift the front wheel off the ground and press this little throttle button here, and hopefully if everything's working, the front wheel should start to go round. If when I press that button nothing happens, then I'm in trouble. So let's have a go, shall we? So we'll just lift the wheel up gently so it's off the ground, and press the button. There we go. And there you can see the motor working and the wheels going round. Quite a lot of power there actually for a 250 watt motor. You wouldn't realise it. I've always been of the opinion it wasn't powerful enough, but it's like my friend Adrian said to me the other day, it is quite powerful. It's rather like having Chris Froome in your saddlebag to help you along. Anyway, I think that's quite a successful installation, and hopefully, you know, it'll help the wife along, but we'll soon find out. Well, that's all for now on the fitting. I shall obviously show the bike in action on the roads. I'll say bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video with somebody riding it, hopefully. Anyway, bye for now. Bye.